All right. Well, thank you so much, Claire and Joel, for the introduction. Hi, everyone. I'm Zareena Mind. I'm the Executive Director of mRelief. I'm so excited to be at Shy Hack Night because Shy Hack Night is the space where the idea for mRelief was formed. So I'm the executive director. I think I already said that. You may be unfamiliar with me because I'm new in this role. Our previous co-founders were Applyie and Genevieve Nielsen, who started mRelief thanks to Shy Hack Night. I'm joined by my colleague Dize.
Hi, I'm Dize Hajolu. I'm the CTO of mRelief. Thanks to everyone for tuning in.
Yes, thank you all. So today we're going to be talking about the work that mRelief does to make social service programs more accessible. So to start, I'll give you some background about mRelief and how we were started. Like I mentioned, we were started at a Shy Hack Night presentation way back in 2014, thanks to our co-founders, Applyie and Genevieve Nielsen, who joined a presentation hosted by the city of Chicago, where they learned that 10,000 housing insecure people in Chicago were completing lengthy applications for housing assistance every year, just to discover that they weren't even eligible for housing assistance in the first place. So only about 10% of the people who were applying for housing assistance ended up getting the benefits. Rose and Genevieve realized that a simple screening tool could save people so much time and arm them with the information or the knowledge that they are eligible for programs before they embark on what's a really lengthy application process. So they developed a screening tool in the city of Chicago that helped residents to check if they meet basic requirements for 37 different social service benefit programs. So why did we decide to focus on SNAP benefits? After realizing that SNAP was the most frequented page on the mRelief website and the tremendous participation gap in the SNAP benefit program, mRelief focused our work on SNAP. SNAP is also an entitlement program. So what that means is that there are resources for anybody who is eligible for benefits. A common misconception about SNAP benefits is that if I enroll for benefits, I may be taking away dollars from somebody who needs them more. But the truth is that there's federal funding to ensure that everybody who's eligible for benefits can get the help that they need. SNAP is also the nation's largest food program. 1 in 9 Americans participates in the SNAP program. Still today, $11 billion in SNAP benefits, also known as food stamps, by the way, go unclaimed each year in the United States. So that amounts to approximately 9 million households who are eligible for benefits but not receiving them. mRelief's mission is to transform access to social services for the inherent dignity of all people. So because history has shown us that the traditional SNAP enrollment process doesn't necessarily take into account the dignity of the individual who's asking for help. So in Illinois, for example, somebody has to complete a 20-page paper application to apply for benefits, or they have to apply on a website that's not mobile friendly. It's designed just for a desktop. And after that, then they have to submit supporting documents, go through an interview process, and then oftentimes they have to wait more than 30 days to even be approved. Our vision is that anyone can access the social safety net without adding to the stressful circumstance of poverty. So that means that one day we hope that this process is as easy as it is for you or I to order a meal on Grubhub.
As we mentioned, in many places, applying for SNAP benefits is really difficult and time consuming. This really increases transaction costs and becomes a really big barrier for accessing food assistance. We've seen that technological innovations can reduce transaction costs and therefore remove those barriers. However, in some states, you can't apply for SNAP online, and in other states, you can't apply for SNAP. You can only apply for SNAP online. And we need to make sure that access to the internet doesn't become one of the barriers to food access. Out of the people who make less than $30,000 a year, 26 of them only access the internet on a smartphone, not through a computer or laptop. And we've developed easy to use tools on mobile-friendly websites, text messaging, and over the phone to help people apply for SNAP. By texting food to 74544, anyone in the US can check to see if they meet basic requirements for SNAP. From there, they will be directed to the fastest way to apply, or in certain states, be given an option of applying using our mobile-friendly application or requesting assistance from a community-based organization. To facilitate the assistance, we've developed a tool called Johnny. Johnny helps local community partners connect with SNAP clients remotely and complete applications. They also assist with document submission and case follow-up.
So at Imrelief, we strongly believe that technology is a really powerful tool to increase access to benefits, and we're constantly testing new features and adjusting our products to better serve our users. So in 2019, we ran a randomized controlled trial in Los Angeles County. We found that applicants who were given the option to schedule a call to talk to someone and complete their application, rather than having to call, wait on hold, and then complete the application, were 18% more likely to complete the call that they needed to submit their application. So using this data, we implemented a similar feature in mRelief's process that allows people to schedule a call with a local community partner rather than calling a hotline and waiting on hold for minutes to hours. One of the applicants who used our system said, "I received a text with a phone number that my assistant's call would come from. The text suggested that I add the number to my contacts so I would know who was calling. This to me was brilliant. They called me right on time and I knew it was safe to answer. I only wish the state was as effective." We ran another randomized control trial in Kentucky last year, and we found that people who were applying for SNAP, who were directed to Imrelief's mobile-friendly website to apply, rather than the state's desktop optimized application, were 30% more likely to successfully submit an application. So one of the SNAP outreach workers that we recently spoke to emphasized the importance of tools that are user-friendly. She said that SNAP is such an important program that it's really important that the application is extremely accessible and that it's pretty to look at, quite honestly. I think it determines the trust that people have in the system that they're using to submit the application, and it just makes the process easier. So after COVID, we saw the need for food really balloon. It really impacted the number of people who were eligible for benefits and seeking them out. So out of the people that Imrelief surveyed, 82% reported that they were worried about being able to afford food, and 62% said that they had trouble accessing food at their local grocery store. Also, the number of people seeking assistance to apply for SNAP benefits at local community organizations and food banks increased by, in some cases, 400%.
To meet this need, we developed a new client relationship management called Johnny. Johnny is named after the legendary activist Johnny Tillman, who's pictured in this slide. She wrote a famous essay titled Welfare is a Women's Issue, which emphasized the necessity of feminism and welfare reform. In this essay, she said, "There is no dignity in starvation. Nobody denies, least of all poor women, that there is dignity and satisfaction in being able to support your kids through honest labor. We wish we could do it. The problem is that our country's economic policies deny the dignity and satisfaction of self-sufficiency to millions of people. The millions who suffer every day in underpaid, dirty jobs and still don't have enough to survive." At Imrelief, we're about empowering people with the food that they need to survive. Oops. Currently, Johnny is being used in California, Kentucky, Illinois, Texas, and Kansas. And by the end of this year, we'll have expanded to 20 partnerships in 11 states. COVID-19 has forced many innovations, particularly in the SNAP space. And a lot of caseworkers, as we discussed, have shifted to providing application assistance over the phone. While this hasn't really been without its challenges, outreach workers who use Johnny said that applicants are happy they don't have to come into the office and that they can schedule a call instead. Early on in the pandemic, one of our colleagues spoke to a woman who was so relieved to be able to talk to someone on the phone. She had tried to call the state's SNAP phone number, and an automated message told her that she was 193rd in line to speak to someone for help. And one of our SNAP outreach workers said they're happy because people who are working don't have to ask for the day off. They just call me at their lunchtime. I think 80% of my clients prefer to do this over the phone. Our tools have been transformational in connecting people to SNAP over the phone. With our partner organization, Catholic Charity Chicago, who we first started running Johnny with, our tech has enabled their outreach workers to increase the number of people they assist. And just this past year during the pandemic, they've been able to reach up to 60% more applicants each month.
So one of the, is my mic? Okay. One of the greatest motivators of this work is the people we serve. So I'd like to just play a quote from a user, Melissa, who had never gone through the process of getting public assistance before COVID, and she used mRelief to get access to SNAP. So I'll play this now.
First of all, I never, ever was on food stamps before. I never even was on employment. But then I started not feeling well, and I got back. If it wasn't for you to help me get those food stamps, I wouldn't have really been eating. I had used all my savings to go to the hospital up there.
And at mRelief, we believe that food is a human right. One of our very first users was Henrietta, who we helped to connect to SNAP benefits. And I will play an audio clip of Henrietta now.
I got all the vegetables that I wanted. I felt like I was in La La Land. Mm-hmm. I got asparagus and avocado, one of every kind of lettuce at Lucky. And I washed all the leaves and put them away. And twice a day, I have the most fabulous salad.
I love to hear Henrietta talk about her fabulous salads. It tugs at my heartstrings every time. So we're thrilled that to date we've connected over 1 million families or households to SNAP benefits across the country, which amounts to $432 million in SNAP benefits that have been unlocked nationwide. And finally, I just have a little call to action. mRelief is hiring. We're growing pretty tremendously. We have currently 5 positions available right now. I believe these are correct. Designed 2 software developers, a growth and development manager, an account associate, and an operations director. These are full-time positions. We're 100% remote right now, and we're looking to hire remote across the country. We offer some benefits. So if you're interested, feel free to send your resume at jobs@mrelief.com or visit our website. Thank you so much, everybody, for your time today. We're happy to answer any questions now.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Yeah,
Really interesting presentation. I had no idea that was had such a wide impact on people.
yeah.
Well, we will get into the questions. Would you like to start, Joel?
Yeah, I'll go first. Let's see. So the leadership transition, how did that work? And do you have any tips for transitioning an org leadership or something like that?
That's a great question. That's a challenging one. So both Rose and Genevieve, our co-founders, they left their positions at mRelief this past year. It had been 7 years since they started the organization. And both myself and Dize had been working at mRelief for several years. And they decided the best route was to just recruit internally and find some people who are passionate about the mission, and that was us. So they decided to, I guess, pass the baton as it were to Dize and I. It's a challenging time for co-founders to leave an organization, but and my cat's just decided to join us, so sorry. But it's been a pretty relatively smooth experience. We're growing pretty quickly, so we do have a lot of new members on the team, and everybody this past year has just put in like 110% effort to make sure that despite the changes to the world and to the organization, we're really committing to the mission of connecting people to SNAP benefits. So I think having a team of people who are really dedicated and mission aligned has really helped to make the transition smooth. I don't know if that counts as a tip, but that's just a notable learning from this experience.
Great. Next question. How is mRelief funded?
Sure. So mRelief has various sources of funding, including grant funding from traditional foundations. We also receive donations from individuals, and we work directly with states and local community partners. So some of our community partners are like Catholic charities or local food banks and other agencies that pay to use the software that we use so that they can connect that we've developed so that they can connect their clients to SNAP benefits. And then we contract with some states. For example, in the state of Kentucky, we're contracted and they then reimburse for the work that we do to connect people in Kentucky to SNAP benefits.
All right, thanks. I'll do the next one. Let's see. Does Imrelief have a presence in Massachusetts?
Say, do you want to take this one?
We do have our screener, our eligibility screener in Massachusetts, but we do not have a partnership with a local organization. If anyone wants to connect us to somebody in Massachusetts, especially at DHS, that would be super.
Yeah. If there's any interest, you can email partnerships@mrelief.com. And you don't have to be in Massachusetts, any state.
How does mRelief do user research or gather applicant feedback about the process?
So we have a chatbot that we developed internally. And in addition to helping people go through the screener and follow up with documents and the interview process, we also send out different surveys that have been created by our research associate and by our product designer. And these surveys are, we have a campaign right now called the Dignity in Mind campaign. So there are different topics that we think could use some extra intention in the SNAP process in terms of dignity. So we are asking about those different parts of the process, like questions that are really sensitive about income, citizenship, gender, and if those prove to be barriers. So we have similar campaigns like that where we source some initial feedback from our users, and to follow up with them, we do user interviews.
All right, that's good. So if you could change one thing about SNAP nationwide immediately, what would your one change be?
That's a great one. I think we can both answer this, and we may have different answers that may be the same.
One each.
Dize, do you know your answer? I'm waffling between two different things.
I think, I mean, wow. I would probably go for changing the calculations of I think it's called the Thrifty Food Plan, or maybe going to the Thrifty Food Plan. Because right now, the way that SNAP benefits are calculated is based on, I believe, numbers from like maybe the 1950s or just many, many years ago when food costs were a lot lower. And we've seen that sometimes benefits, for all the good that they do, sometimes it can't be enough for families. And I think changing that calculation and updating it would bring SNAP so much further in helping more families with food.
Yeah, and the way that those are calculated have not only an impact on who's eligible, like how much income you can be receiving to be eligible, but also how much in benefits you receive, which like today, it doesn't really match what's reasonable for the cost of groceries for a family of 4 or whoever. Okay, so the thing that I would change probably, I would love if automatic enrollment existed. So what that would look like is that people who apply and who are deemed eligible based on eligibility requirements would, or anyone who applies would be able to get SNAP benefits like right away. And then rather than having to wait a whole month to submit documentation and be verified for these benefits, which most people who apply are eligible, they would get access to food right away and then submit those verifications throughout the month, just giving people some relief rather than having to wait a full 30 days to get access to benefits, which, if someone weren't eligible, then the cost of that is maybe $190 for the person who got benefits that month. I don't think that it necessarily would make a huge impact on the federal budget if we were to do it that way.
Interesting. In the states that Johnny trials ran, have the states been responding to the data by changing their own interfaces at all for these applications?
I don't think so.
So I think state reflexiveness and reactivity to technological changes like mRelief or Johnny is relatively slow. We've seen that even after a year of being in a pandemic, many states haven't even adopted electronic signature, which means that people could sign their SNAP application digitally rather than going in person and signing something with a pen and paper. So I think that just speaks to, like, after a year, that hasn't even changed. Changes to SNAP can be very slow, and of course, these states are dealing with a lot of red tape and federal guidance, but unfortunately, the state systems that exist haven't quite caught up to the technology that we've developed.
We were also speaking with a state earlier this week who said that in order to make a change to their online application, it was a 2-year wait period. So they move quite slowly.
Ouch. So our next question is, what are some of the core technologies that you use, and do you contribute to many open source software projects to make Imrelief work?
So we are a Ruby and React stack. We do not currently contribute to open source projects. We have been wanting to explore creating our own to help aggregate resources in specific areas to offer to users, or provide maybe more assistance with the interview process. But we don't currently contribute to open source projects.
What are do you currently or plan to do something similar for other benefits besides SNAP? For example, housing vouchers, etc.?
Yeah, so we definitely get asked this question a lot. Early when our co-founders created Imrelief, they had developed screening tools for 37 different social service programs. So housing was included, TANF, WIC, any public assistance that you could be interested in. We found that SNAP was the most commonly visited page on our website, and it also has the largest participation gap. So I think it's about 9 million households that are eligible for SNAP benefits aren't getting them, whether it's because they don't know that they're eligible or because the process is really difficult to get connected to benefits. So we really decided to focus on SNAP for the past 6 years or so, just because that gap continues to be very big. And because, like I said, SNAP is an entitlement program, which means that anyone who qualifies can access the benefits. Whereas, for example, housing assistance is a really limited resource. So it can just be a little more challenging to be able to offer people assistance on like a very quick timeline using technical interventions. That doesn't mean that we'll never look into other social service programs. Food security is something that we're really passionate about, so we might eventually look into something like WIC or other food programs. But for the time being, we really want to focus on getting SNAP right.
All right, thanks. Let's see. So what states or other governments do an especially good job of helping their residents by focusing their processes on kind of ease of use? And this could be outside of the SNAP world. What's going on that's good out there?
That's an excellent question. So somebody asked about Massachusetts. Massachusetts actually has one of the best SNAP interfaces of any state in the United States. The website to apply for benefits, I believe it's mobile friendly, and it's just a really simple, user-friendly application. let's see, other states, there's a program that's not run by the state, but there's a program called Get CalFresh that does something similar to mRelief, but they do really great work in California to connect people to benefits. Dize, can you think of any others?
I can't.
I think that the state of Oregon, I believe it's Oregon, it may be Washington. They have an app so that you can access your benefits through a mobile app. I believe they might have a mobile like EBT card in that app, but I'm not 100% sure. But I think you can also check like your benefit amount and get reminded about recertifying for benefits through the app. So I think that's pretty cool.
What's the process like when you first start working with a new state or local government?
I'll let you take this one, Dize.
We might have to tag team this because
Okay.
it includes a lot of partnerships, processes, and then product as well. One of the first steps that we take is doing a tech feasibility assessment on their application, on their state application, and trying to assess the best application submission method, whether it's email, fax, or online. Like I said in the presentation, some places you can't apply online, so you really only have fax option or mailing option. But other places, they do have online websites. So that is the first step that we take to see if we could even implement our process in that state. The reason for that is because it's really hard to make up for bad policy with technological processes. We can only go so far.
We also typically work beyond tech feasibility, which is a really important step of deciding if we can work in a state. We also look at interest. So if there are local community partners who are interested in using our technology to serve their community, we are more likely to, of course, work in that state. Of course, also if the state, like the local human service agencies are open to partnering with us, we definitely, it just makes for like a friendlier environment for us to work in that state. And then we do look at participation gaps in each state. So there are some states that claim to have 100% participation. We know that that's not true just because Illinois is one of those states and we currently work in Illinois, but we do tend to look at like where in the country are there a high number of people who are eligible but not receiving benefits. For example, in California, they have about 3 million households out of that 9 million who are eligible but not receiving benefits.
So what's next for Imrelief? What's coming up?
Well, Dize alluded to the expansion, the scale that we're trying to achieve this year. We're looking to launch in about 11 different states with 20 different partners. Over the next few years, we hope to continue to scale our work and launch in even more states where it's technically feasible. So yeah, just continuing to scale and to reach as many people as we can.
Somebody's purring. That's good.
Are there common misconceptions about SNAP or SNAP eligibility that you hear often?
Definitely, there are a lot. Zareena alluded to one earlier about there being a limited amount of benefits to go around, which is not the case. Funding exists for anyone who needs it because it's an entitlement program. Other myths kind of revolve around stigma of what it means to be on SNAP and on food stamps. What else can you think of, Zee?
So there's a really big myth that circulates around SNAP about fraud. People, when they think of benefits, any type of social service, they assume that there's like a huge number of people who are fraudulently claiming benefits and like profiting somehow off of SNAP benefits. It's just not true. Less than 1% of like the total number of people who are receiving benefits are receiving them through fraud. And even when they are, it's not like a deliberate act where they're trying to like suck the government of money. It's just that maybe they moved and they're continuing to get benefits in Illinois, but now they live in California and they might not even know that they're getting those benefits. Other times it may be just like a clerical error that means that they're started receiving benefits, but something was lost in the paperwork and they may actually not be eligible. So fraud is a huge myth that unfortunately it really impacts a lot of people receiving benefits, because there's this idea that there's so many people who are benefiting off this system fraudulently, which then makes states try to enact more policies that make it more difficult to get SNAP benefits. So submitting all these documents, completing a required interview, which oftentimes has to be in person in an office. So all these things just make, they just create barriers to SNAP benefits. And that's kind of the reason that we see 9 million households are eligible, but they're not getting it, because in a lot of states, the process is intentionally really difficult to access. So a lot of these myths can just be really troubling and harmful for people who need benefits.
So I'll ask this one as a local government employee. How often do you encounter mainframe systems with like COBOL and that kind of stuff? We have them at work. So like, do you have to build interfaces with those, or do you just, is that like kind of more behind the scenes?
That's a little more behind the scenes than what we typically have to interface with. Fortunately or unfortunately, I'm not sure.
Well, I will say and I'm not the tech person here, so Dize, you can speak more to this, but one of the tech barriers we do run into frequently is reCAPTCHA. reCAPTCHA is one of the enemies of the work. It doesn't mean that we can't necessarily work if there's reCAPTCHA on an application, but we just have to find another way around it.
I did not have that culprit on my list. That's a good one.
Are you aware of any major pushes in different states or nationally to make SNAP automatic enrollment, especially in times of extraordinary circumstances such as a pandemic?
I have not heard of any like policy or any campaigns to try to push something like automatic enrollment. It's interesting because during the pandemic, we saw this concept of stimulus checks, which the government used like your tax returns, I think, to figure out if you're eligible for like whatever $600 stimulus check. So it poses as a model for automatic enrollment. If the IRS can check what your income was last year and then direct deposit money into your account, that seems like it could open a door for something like automatic enrollment for SNAP. But currently, I have not heard of anything going forward in any states around that.
There are some changes that they have made through kind of one-off waivers that states have to apply for every month to try to boost the program. And we've seen it be extremely beneficial. So one example is maximum allotments. Typically, the SNAP benefits kind of go down based on how much you're getting towards the income limit cutoff for the program. But with these waivers for almost all of the pandemic so far, almost every state has had a max allotment waiver where they have given the full amount of benefits for the household size. That's made a huge difference in families' lives. They've also lightened some eligibility restrictions, especially for students who are definitely underserved by SNAP, and it's pretty difficult for them to receive SNAP unless they meet these like very specific exemptions, and they've made it a little bit more general. They've also waived recertification for a few months, so they won't cut people off if they haven't recertified. And we do see that SNAP churn is a pretty big issue, people getting cut off their benefits without really realizing it. So that has also lessened the load for some families.
Wow, great. Do you know of any examples of other countries where they approach food assistance differently and perhaps more successfully, i.e. less red tape, higher benefit levels, et cetera?
That is a great question. I'm certain that there are countries that have an automatic enrollment model for benefits, but I'm not sure which ones they are. I haven't done a lot of research in this space lately. Zay?
Yeah, I don't know of anything internationally, but I'm going to research after we get off this call.
We have, what is your cat's name?
My cat's name is Margot. Thanks for asking.
We got a few more minutes, folks, if you want to put those questions in the chat. Let's see. So has Imrelief always been Ruby on Rails with the, I think it was React, or was there like a transition at some point?
It might have been Rails and Angular for the very first set of screeners. I'm happy to say that we have graduated from that to React. I haven't done any Angular work in our Imrelief code base. So that's been nice.
Okay. Another question appeared. I don't know if you were going to cut you off answering. So how does Imrelief stay in the loop with all the changing states' eligibility rules and exceptions?
Yeah, that's a great question. So there was a time early on in the pandemic when, Dize, you can probably explain this better than I can, but we had like a program scraping the website of waivers every night and then sending an email updating us about like which states had approved which waivers. So for example, like Illinois, Wisconsin, Kentucky, all approved maximum allotment for the next month. So then we were using that information and putting it on our eligibility screener so that when somebody went from Illinois, came to our website to find out if they qualify for benefits, they would see that they are likely to be approved for the maximum amount of benefits, at least for the next month. But there's so many changes to the SNAP space pretty regularly. We have an amazing research associate who stays on top of all the changes to eligibility requirements, to the waivers that get posted still on a monthly basis. And we try to be as reflexive as we can to update our screener and application to reflect the changes to these to benefit eligibility.
The biggest changes to the SNAP space happen annually. So income limits get changed every October. Benefits get recalculated, maybe also every October. I don't remember, but typically those really, really big changes happen once a year. So we try to make sure that we are on it in terms of grabbing that information as soon as FNS publishes it to be reflected in our screener.
Well, I think we've got a ton of questions. We're just gonna wind down slightly early, only 4 minutes until 8 o'clock. Thank you so much. That was
Thank you so much. That was great.
yeah.
Thank you guys. Thanks so much for having us and for being here.
Come back anytime.
Indeed.
Okay.
Okay. What's our next thing? All right. Again, please stick around for the Chai Hack Night remote. Wait, that's not what I meant. I meant the post presentation Zoom call. So intros, announcements, breakout group pitches, some form of socialization, talking to other people, ideas, breakthroughs, disruption. The call will start shortly after the presentation, 8 o'clock p.m. at that web address. Code of conduct is still in effect. So don't get out of line.
And I think I'm going to run that event, so I have to log out of Zoom and log back in with the different logins. You give me just a minute, and then I'll be in there. Just give me just a minute. Nice bathroom break time.
Yeah.
On that note, 1, 2, go for no.
Go. I have to say, stay safe.
Oh,
take
you're right.
care, and there we go. Go
forth and hack.